Welcome to the Veterans Cafe Podcast, Episode 5.
I'm Tracy.
And I'm Wes.
So one of the things that I wanted to mention today is the fact that I've only been in the reserves. March 2015 will be 6 years for me. My husband, though, has been in every component of the Army, and I think that's actually pretty unique. And I've been in 3 units within the 6 years. That's pretty unique and unusual as well. I've had 2 MOSs. He's had 2 MOSs. There's pros and cons to everything in life, and I just thought it would be kind of fun just to talk about, you know, my perspective from reserves. I think being in the reserves is actually pretty challenging because, you know, you're not active. So you do PT on your own, right? In your own free time. As a civilian, if you're working, it becomes challenging to do PT. Just, you know, remembering things like, you know, DNC, like counter columns. Oh my God, I'm a reservist. So a lot of times when someone says counter column, when someone says counter column,
you can't even say it. That's how difficult it is. I mean, not only is the act of doing a counter column difficult,
I can't remember.
But just saying it, I mean, that just shows how difficult the entire process is.
But obviously it was something I learned how to do in basic, and, you know, I perfected it in AIT, and certainly by the time I graduated from WLC, I was giving the commands, I was marching soldiers, I was all over it. But it's not something I do on a regular basis, so the fact that I can't even pronounce it is, you know, just proof of my confidence isn't, not very high when it comes to it. Just like little things. I mean, last year I was in an Army school for just under 9 months, and I don't know, at least from my point of view, if an officer walks in a room in a hallway, he's inside, outside, I'm always have this inner heart attack of, what am I supposed to salute? What am I not salute? I don't know. There's just all those things that I think is challenging for a reservist.
Yeah, well, each component definitely has like its ups and downs, or its its good parts and its bad parts, and so in that regard, talking about that kind of stuff, it is the exact opposite in active duty. Now, saying that, I mean, I'm talking about like the saluting and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, you know that. I mean, you do it on a daily basis. People still don't know how to do counter columns, though. Anytime you hear someone call a counter column, it's just literally because they're like screwing with the guys that are in formation. People, they still don't do it. So don't. I personally would not feel too bad about that, because that's something that no one. That's like the Rubik's Cube of DNC. so I wouldn't worry too much about that, but there definitely are other things that, about the, in terms of the differences between the National Guard, the reserves, and active duty. And yeah, so DNC and all that kind of stuff, and saluting and all those
it's
basic military courtesies are something you do on a daily basis. So
I agree.
So you just don't have the same amount of practice you do, in active duty.
Yeah, it's not second nature. I mean, I'm a specialist and I've been in for almost 6 years, but, I have a good idea of what to do and I have an instinct of what to do. But when I see an officer, as I was joking before, I was like, do I salute inside? Do I salute outside? There's all those things that if I was quiet, if I wasn't rushed or stressed, I would know the answer. But since it's not something I practice on a regular basis, I have inner panics all the time. I don't know. And it could be just me, but it's just one of those things I just wanted to throw out there. It's there's a bit of a challenge, I think, of being a reservist, because, you have your civilian life, which takes up most of your calendar year, right? So, if you're lucky, you go on missions and, so you're in the Army more than 1 week in a month, but I mean, certainly, I don't think that we have the comfort level at all that anybody that is, currently active duty does.
No, certainly not. But I mean, that doesn't mean that the reservists and National Guardmen or women don't have comfort levels in other places. I mean, I don't know. Especially when it comes to specific MOSs, it feels to me like many of the reservists and National Guard, a lot of those guys, what they do in the Army is also what they do in their civilian life. Like I actually just had the pleasure of serving with a guy who is a plumber in the reserves, and he's a plumber in his civilian job.
Mm-hmm.
He loves it. He makes good money. He enjoys the work. So he was way more knowledgeable than the average Army soldier plumber, because the training there is just not there for the reserves and the National Guard, unfortunately. And apparently, I mean, and it's really, in some cases, not there for the active duty guys either. I remember when I was in the infantry, we used to always joke because we would see people, quote, in the field, but they'd be on like a parade field, right? That's where they would pitch their tents and everything, and because they're doing some kind of ops and stuff like that, but the training was not as consistent and not as realistic, in my opinion, So I think it really depends on what your MOS is, where you're stationed, probably makes a huge difference. Someone who's stationed at Fort Campbell probably has a way bigger budget and all that kind of stuff than, someone who's stationed at some smaller location like, I don't know, Fort Stewart or something like that. So I'm sure that makes a difference too.
No, I agree. I mean, and of course, in my opinion, for every con, there's a pro. I mean, I'm currently, my second MOS and, which is combat camera. And I know I've mentioned it before, but the Army, it taught me a lot about photography and videography. And as a civilian, it's an advantage because I get to, have a lot more practice than someone who is active duty because, I work for myself. So I'm very lucky. And, I happen to be a civilian photographer. So I get a lot of practice. So I think that's kind of nice. As a reservist, you get more time on your hands to perfect your craft. But at the same time, if you have children, if you're working full time, that's a whole nother challenge. But, the benefit too is school. So I don't know. I think it can go either way.
Yeah. And speaking of that, actually, I have to say, with my time both in the Guard and the reserves, which is a total now of like 7.5 years or something. That is probably one of the more difficult parts about being in the reserves and the National Guard is that you're literally juggling two different lives, right? So, and I mean, it's still even a hard time for me now. I have drill, right? So once a month I have to go do my thing, or the whole AT 2 weeks a year I have to go do my thing, and it's difficult to do that with your job. And everybody likes to say, oh well, it's the law; they have to let you go, but it's not just about
them firing you.
Well, yeah, it's not about them firing me. It's that
you're trying to build a career,
right? I want the company to like me. I want to continue to progress. I don't want to be looked at somebody who is not dependable because I put this before my job. I want both to be on equal playing fields, and I want both to understand that. So that's very difficult for a reservist or a person in the National Guard to have to juggle on, a monthly basis. And especially if like a deployment comes up like it just did for me. There are a lot of companies, and I've been very fortunate that I've worked for companies who were very supportive of what I've done in the Guard and the reserves. But, and so there are a lot of companies out there that are very supportive of what you do, but that doesn't mean necessarily that because the company is that individuals within the company are either. So it's still a sort of a juggling act that reservists and guardsmen have to play just to keep a healthy balance in their professional life, So that's definitely probably the most difficult thing about being in the reserves. I
agree. And then you're juggling two lives, and you're also juggling your family, and then I think it's the point of view too. I mean, I'm only speaking with my experience and the 3 units that I've been in. A lot of times, I've been asked to go on a mission, with a very short window of time to prepare. And I've been very lucky that since I work for myself, it's really easy for me to go. Of course I'll go on this mission if you're giving me 2-3 days notice because, I work for myself, so I can clear my schedule. But I think it gets challenging for someone, as my husband said, who's out there working for a civilian and they're working on their career. And of course, the employer, has legal boundaries and they can't fire you, but they can do other things. They can, just not view you in the same light that you would like them to. And I don't know. I don't want to paint the picture that I think, reservists and guardsmen necessarily have an incredible challenge. I just wanted to point out, there's just some challenges to it.
Well, it is an incredible challenge. And I mean, I can say that from experience. I did time in active duty and I did time in both of the reserve components, the National Guard in Texas, and as well as just the Federal Army Reserves as well, which is what I'm serving in now. And it is very difficult. It's a very difficult thing to do. It's difficult to do in the National Guard, and it's still difficult to do now. So I don't think it's something to downplay. It really is something that every reservist, except for, people like my wife who just make their own schedule and just do whatever they want to do. We can't all just be doing whatever we want to do,
It's a shame. It's a shame because it's pretty awesome. But at the same time, I mean, I'm a reservist and, I do my best to make sure, my dress uniform is always like current and looking good and things like that. So, I mean, I do put the effort. It's just, I don't know. I just wanted to say, I think it's just all what you make of it, like if you're going to put the time and the effort in, it's going to pay off. I just think it's worth talking about that there's some challenges.
It definitely is. Well, and this is a huge challenge. And I can tell you right now, right off the bat, the other huge challenge is everything that goes on, like in active duty, you're forced to do a lot. You're forced to have like amazing uniforms. You're forced to stay in great physical condition. You're forced to do all that. You're forced to be there constantly. You're a soldier 24/7, so you're forced to be on DRF, right? Deployment Readiness Force or whatever. So you're forced to not be able to drink alcohol, and you have to be able to come in within an hour and that kind of stuff, right? Well, in the reserves, there aren't those kind of constraints, so it's a little bit more difficult because you have to force yourself to actually weave some of these needs of the Army into your lifestyle, and it's not an easy thing to do. I mean, I can tell you right now, one of the strange phenomenons in our own little marriage, little confessional right here, I'm going to throw up.
Uh-oh.
Yes, little confessional right here I'm going to throw up about our own marriage. Is that my wife and I, we love to just hang out and spend time together and just do whatever, we like hanging out on the beach. We love just watching Netflix or, we'll watch like seasons of a show.
Within 2 hours. No, I'm just kidding.
In some ridiculous amount of time.
We do a lot of
marathon. We love that, we love to come home at night and occasionally just be like, screw the whole cooking thing. Let's just order some pizza
we'll be like,
or Chinese
forget
food.
paleo for tonight.
Who brought did you get a 6-pack? What were you thinking? Why would you have not brought a bottle of wine or a 6-pack home?
Because it's just a random Tuesday.
That's just who we are. And then when we separate, as we're about to do, by the way, we didn't mention, tonight is the last night before my wife leaves me with all my money for 2 weeks.
Yeah, the 12 days looks like the 12 days has turned into 16 days.
So I was right initially. I just want to, let's go ahead. We have this on the record in a recording, an official copyrighted recording.
But this one particular
Veterans Cafe
time,
podcast. The husband was right.
This one particular time, my husband was correct. But
just because
my
the
orders
rest
just
weren't
changed.
recorded.
That's the other thing too. I mean, just being in the Army, whether you're active or reservist, I think, I joined at 36, as I've talked about before, and I thought I had a decent amount of patience, just as a human being before I joined the Army, and oh my goodness, has my patience just improved. It's amazing to me. I don't know. Just the discipline you learn, even as a reservist, I find impressive. I mean, I just have so much patience now if something doesn't work out. And I don't know. It's an advantage, I think.
But I still have to buy her a stress relief body wash, just to be on the safe side.
He does a really good job with bath salts and shower gels and little lavender.
What can I say? I'm basically a doctor. I mean,
your third MOS?
I'm not going to post my degree online or anything for you guys to see, but just take my word for it. I'm a pretty doctor and MFer.
Oh my goodness.
Anyways.
Well, I don't know. I mean, this topic for me, just I just wanted to talk a little bit about there's like pros and cons to everything, and I just wanted to just throw out there that in my opinion, whether you're in the active duty or you're in the reserves or you're in the guardsmen, you have my respect because you're wearing the uniform, and I appreciate all that everybody does. And I don't know, it's just fun to discuss the challenges.
Well, it's definitely something we're talking about because it's there are some huge differences, and a lot of people they join the reserves or they join the guard or they just go straight into active duty like I did in the beginning, and they get this real tunnel vision, about what they're doing. And this happens all the way down to the team level, right? If you're in two different fire teams, then you're competing. Mm-hmm. But then when you end up competing with another squad, then there's two squads competing, and now you're on the same team, Mm-hmm. And then when those two squads are competing with another platoon, then the whole platoon's together in the same team, right? And it just keeps on going up. And everything's a competition, but when it really comes out to everything going on, I think no matter what component you're in, you definitely, you deserve any respect that you get. You deserve everything because, everybody's deploying just as much as everybody else. Everybody is putting in just as much work as everybody else. It may not always be like in an active duty environment. It may not always be in a reserve environment, but you're putting in that work and we're all working together. So it's definitely worth talking about the differences between all the components, but it's also worth acknowledging the fact that everyone's serving together and, and we're all doing it, we're all doing a good thing together.
And our uniform looks the same, and it all says U.S. Army just the same, which is just one of those things that an NCO pointed out quite a few missions ago to me, and I don't know, it just made me think about it, and I just wanted to mention it.
And also, all of our negative counselings look the same. All of our Article 15s look the same.
All of the awards are the same. Well, not all of the awards, but most of the awards are the same.
So
I don't know. It's worth it, and I obviously I wouldn't have re-enlisted as I just did. If I didn't appreciate, I don't know, all the benefits, pros or cons or not. I don't know. I love it, and I do think it's worth pointing out too that obviously my husband's been in 3 different components. You can transfer, and you can you can communicate with your unit if there's a different place you want to go to, or a different mission, or a different MOS. And I just think it's worth mentioning because I know I've met soldiers who have been in the same unit for like 9 years, and I don't think that is a bad thing. But I feel like it's kind of good to see different locations and different units and different MOSs if possible. I just wanted to mention it.
No, it's true, and and that's probably actually one of the negatives of the reserves and the National Guard. And one of the positives of active duty is that it's not necessarily typical for a guy or a girl in active duty to stay in the same location for forever. No one stays at whatever Fort Drum for 20 years and then retires. They hop around all over the place. And a lot of times they end up having opportunities to go to different places overseas as well, like Germany, Italy, all these other locations, Korea, even, if you want to go there. But the point is, they get the opportunity to move around all these different locations. Even if it's not outside the U.S., it's definitely a bunch of different locations within the U.S., which is still awesome. A lot of people, they graduate high school and never even leave their hometown. So it's still awesome, to be able to bounce around and see different parts of the U.S. and everything. So that's definitely one of the, I would say, one of the more negative aspects of the reserves and the National Guard, especially the National Guard. If you're in the Texas Guard, you're in the Texas Guard. And it makes it that much more difficult to do anything in terms of, like, moving up and all that kind of stuff. I mean, in a state like Texas, yeah, you want to get promoted to E6, and there's a slot in Amarillo, and you live in Houston. I mean, that's basically like driving to Florida just to go to drill every week. So,
but
every month.
Texas is just amazing. I have to throw it out there because we're both from.
Of course, we love Texas, and although we are very much loving Florida here, I mean, of course we do miss Texas. Florida is just everything that's amazing about Texas, but with better weather
and cleaner beaches. Come on. More beautiful. Well, it's more beautiful, even correct grammar, but just the water is nicer.
More beautiful is the correct grammar. If you had said beautifuler, I would have corrected you. And yeah, they are more beautiful. But I mean, you can go down to in South Texas, like South Padre. They're not that bad. They're still pretty nice. All right.
South Padre I'm not
creating a 1 through 10 scale here, and I mean, we don't even live on the nice side of Florida, I mean,
Indian Rocks Beach. How dare you?
I'm just saying, if you go over to like Miami, or if you go down to the Keys or something, that's for like the super clear, Atlantic water.
We need to go one weekend.
Yeah, so the point is, I'm just saying, you've only slightly moved up on the Gulf of Mexico scale of excellence. Okay, it's not like you've superseded it and gone on to some other universe of clear ocean water or anything like that.
Not yet.
Anyways, the point is, we love Texas and we love Florida. So they're both awesome states.
And we love everybody who's serving.
Yeah, that was initially the point of this podcast. Obviously, we've strayed from the path a little bit. as it typically happens, and you know what, we kind of enjoy that it happens, and we hope you guys too. You guys too. We hope you guys do too. You know, that's kind of what we wanted out of this podcast, is for it to be lighthearted and fun, and again, like I've said before, we would really love to do this thing live, and we'd like to have you guys participate. You know, that'd just be so awesome to us. So, you know, send us emails. You know, if you're listening to this from iTunes, review us on iTunes. You know, do whatever help you can give us, we would appreciate it, because it would actually incentivize us a little bit more to make this thing, you know, live and whatever nights a week and all that kind of stuff, you know. So we definitely want to get you guys more involved in this. So send us an email at themax@vetscafe.com, or you can find our Facebook page, Veterans Cafe Podcast, and send us a message through there. Comment. You know, we're not the type of page that actually goes through and like looks through every comment. Obviously, if you start, you know, like being all vulgar and stuff like that, we're gonna just delete you and ignore you. But you know, if you're an awesome person, post on there. You know, we'll post it. We're gonna hide your post or anything like that. So make comments, send us emails, all that kind of stuff. I actually recently updated the website and put a little button on there so you can actually Skype chat with us. So click on the little Skype chat button. You know, if one of us are sitting, I was about to make my own little grammar error there. If one of us are sitting at the computer, then we will we'll sit here and chat with you. You know, we want to hear what you have to say. You know, and we would actually love to have some of you guys on the show as well.
And you know, I work from home, so
she has nothing better to do, is what you're saying.
What I meant was, there's a very good chance if you Skype call me, I will be available. When, of course, I'm not on a mission.
Well, it's a good thing you clean that up. So
anyway,
so we would definitely, you know, and I actually, you know, talking about this, I actually just talked to a friend the other day. I mean, I know we have mentioned before that we've been talking to my old friend Noah, and we're talking about having him on the show. And I got the studio rigged up so that we can start taking Skype calls and start doing some interviews on the show.
And I'm going to be traveling, as I mentioned before, and we just found a traveling microphone for me, so I think that is so awesome.
Absolutely, yeah. So this was technically going to be our last podcast before my wife left for the. This was actually what I was saying earlier before you rudely interrupted and just took us off on some dark, weird path. But
a fun path.
Yeah, it was fun. But anyways, yeah, so we actually did find an old USB condenser mic that I had bought, I don't know, a long time ago for some reason that I wasn't even sure about. And so my wife's going to take that, and we're going to try and continue this thing while she's on the road. But anyways, to get back to the point that I was making a while ago before I was rudely interrupted for the second time.
I think it was more than second, but that's okay.
Yeah, well, you know, this is just our marriage. It's okay. But you know, I just talked to a friend the other day, a guy that I actually served with my second tour in Iraq, and I haven't seen him for a long time. We used to live pretty close to each other in San Antonio there for a while, and he moved off, ironically, to Florida, or not
and
ironically,
then of course
but
we get here
coincidentally,
and he moves away.
Yeah, and so now he lives in Georgia. Anyways, I had just spoken to him, and I told him, we'd love to have him on the show. That's what we would like, just as much as getting someone like Noah on the show. We'd love to have just regular soldiers on the show, too, just to tell us about your experience, you know?
I'm sure he's going to love that you called him a regular soldier.
Josh?
Yeah. He's not regular.
Even subpar soldiers.
Nice. I was trying to help
you know what? He has to listen to it to actually hear that, so... So if he wants to know what we're saying about him, he needs to start listening to In fact, if he wants to be on the show, he needs to start listening to the damn show, all right? So anyways, so we would love to have anyone on here who's a soldier, veteran, even a family member of a soldier, you know. We want all you guys to participate, so...
And really all you need is Skype.
Yeah, that's all you need. We're not going to... You know, we don't expect you to go out and buy some amazing mic or anything so we can have some, you know, crazy podcast with you. We just want you to call in and have a chat with us about anything, about your experiences, about what it's like. If you're a family member, what it's like to be separated from your soldier, or, you know, what you do on your free time. You know, my wife cuts up construction paper like a small child and sends it to me in a sweet box.
But there's always a theme.
There was a theme. There was always some punny.
Yeah, because I love puns. There's just nothing better than puns to me. Anyway. Thank you all for listening very much.
Yeah. You can actually, speaking of the punny boxes that my wife sent me, you can probably go on my Facebook page and find all those photos. Right, I made a little album. Mm-hmm. So I saw every time she sent me a package with these cute little construction paper cutouts, I posted it on my Facebook page. So go take a look and have a laugh, and also look at how cute and incredibly sweet they were. Not just laugh, because they were
that was
awesome.
Creative. I mean,
And she sent awesome stuff. I mean, whose wife right now in Iraq, or not Iraq, but Afghanistan, is sending them, what was it? It was basically Reese's Pieces inside of an Oreo.
Yeah, they were amazing.
Or was it peanut butter Oreos or something like that? Delicious.
Yeah, and cigars? I don't even know how many cigars they sent. And they were top notch.
All the good stuff. So
Anyway.
We have seriously strayed from the path on this one. But
we may have to edit this one. Maybe not. I don't know.
We're not editing nothing. We're leaving it all in there. Anyways, so thank you guys for tuning in to our little pre-Tracy traveling, taking all my money episode.
Since I'm leaving him
for 2 weeks.
16 days now.
So the husband was right, 2 weeks on the record.
As of now, it could change. It could change.
It's on the record. So thank you guys for tuning in again to another episode of the Veterans Cafe podcast. I will definitely be posting on the Facebook page and letting you guys know when we'll be able to do another one. My wife could be kind of busy doing this whole mission that she's doing, so I don't want to like throw a day or a date or anything like that out there and put her under kind of any kind of constraints or anything, because I just want her to be prepared for it whenever she's prepared for it. So just keep we'll keep you posted on the Facebook page. Just keep following us and checking your iTunes feed or your Stitcher feed. You can find us there. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, all that stuff. We're everywhere. I mean, we're all over the place. All right, so thanks again for listening, and we'll talk to you guys in the next episode.
Bye.